Hi friends, welcome. As someone planning to join an astrology course or as someone planning to address your first batch of students, you must pay attention to what is called as the code switching or language alternation. It simply means the intermingling of two or more languages or the language varieties. I will make it easier with a few examples. But I remember that when I first began reading the astrology books about the Parashari astrology and then later Krishnamurti Paddhati, I realized that the astrology terms from English, Hindi, Sanskrit, and Tamil were freely used by the authors, and there were no footnotes to explain those words in a different language context, and that it was left to the reader to figure it out what those words meant. In a way, it was kind of understood that the readers they would understand and agree to whatever was written, and the readers would understand the terms whether it was mentioned in English or Tamil or Hindi. So this is the first a stumbling block that I would say I had during my initial years, and it became clear to me that the intermingling of the languages and the terms that are freely used from the other languages, that one must need to understand before getting into a proper study of the astrology. Now let me give you an example. When I started reading the Krishnamurti books or the books on the stellar astrology, then I realized that the Kanya, the Virgo, so the Virgo in was in Krishnamurti's books, you will find that sometime he has mentioned Virgo in English, sometimes he has mentioned Kanya, and sometimes he has also mentioned Kanni. That comes from the Tamil language. And if you read more of these books, the stellar astrology books, then you will find that this particular word, the Kanni, is, and I hope I am pronouncing this word correctly. This word Kanni is frequently used over the word Kanya or the word Virgo. So this is one simple example of what is called the intermingling of the languages. And see, even the word Jyotish, if you look at the word Jyotish, this word Jyotish, which is astrology in English, and Jyotish or become in Hindi or Sanskrit, it becomes Jothidam, Josiam, or Jyotisham in Tamil. So you will frequently encounter words from the English and from the Sanskrit, Hindi, or Tamil when you are reading the astrology literature. And especially if you are an aspiring student, then I would strongly recommend that first you should become somewhat familiar with these intermingling of these words, because these words are interchangeable, and you should be knowing these words ahead of joining a class. And if you are a astrology tutor, then I would strongly recommend that you let your students know about these terms. Otherwise, many times the student would be drawing a blank when you, as an astrology tutor, might be using certain terms which the student is not aware of. Now, some more words there, which are very common when you when you start noticing this intermingling of the languages, then you realize that especially in Tamil, there are certain letters or alphabet that are missing. So their pronunciation is a little bit different from what usually is in the north. So, for example, the Lata Mangeshkar. So Lata becomes Latha. Latha becomes Latha. Shiva becomes Shiva, and Ashwani, Yashwani Nakshatra becomes Ashwani. Like this, you will see this, that instead of Ashwani, they write Aswini. And the one of the very common is the Sri. This is what is the way it is written in the north. But you will find this Sri. This is more popular in the south. So these are some of the examples, and that you should be aware of. There are some more words that you will encounter as you start reading or taking lessons in the astrology. Even in the list of the stars, these sometimes you think that these are spelling mistakes. These are not spelling mistakes. These are actually interchangeable because the way they are pronounced in some other language. Another example is the Revati, Revati Nakshatra. So you will often see this written as Revati. So these are some of the very common examples of the what is called as the intermingling of the languages. Now, based on my experience, both as a student and now as someone occasionally sharing my knowledge with the novice or the beginners in astrology, so I have started recommending them to first get aware of all these interchangeable words. So they should be familiar with the planet names and signs in, I would say, English, and then Hindi or Sanskrit, like we say Hindi or Sanskrit. And then some of the terms, that are that have come from the Tamil Jyotish literature, and now they are part and parcel of the Jyotish generally. So the first thing is that you should be familiar with all the English terms for the planet, Hindi terms, and some of these Tamil words. I don't have any document ready for that, but you might want to prepare some list with the help of your tutor or some other colleagues. This is going to be very helpful for you when you are taking the when you start taking your astrology lessons. You should not be lazy about it, and you should definitely commit all these words, English, Hindi, and some of the meanings of these Tamil words, and this is going to be very helpful for you. And just the like this here, just the usual ratta thing will help you a lot. And now when you get into all this, the intermingling, then it also helps you expand your understanding about some more deeper things. For example, when I started noticing that the way we write this word Shri or Shri in North, but in South it's written as Sri. So I started wondering that when somebody is doing the Bija Mantra for the goddess Lakshmi, then in the North, the way we pronounce it is Shri, Shri or the Shrim, but in South it becomes Sri. Now the common knowledge is that one has to be uh, very specific or very particular, very disciplined about the pronunciation. So, that was one of the curiosity that took me uh, to into the what is called as the Dhvani Yoga and the Laya Yoga. So it helped me understand what is the difference between the Dhvani Yoga and Laya Yoga. But that's beside the point. But the thing that I wanted to mention over here was that the intermingling of language, sometimes it expands your boundaries, and then you can reach out and learn something more about one specific word. Now, the intermingling of the languages, sometimes, especially in the Jyotish, it extends beyond the just the linguistic thing. So let's take this example: a very common word, DBA. Now, this DBA it refers to the Dasha Bhakti. This is very commonly used, the word DBA. So, but in the north, if you look at this word, the Dasha Bhakti Antara, it's not that popular. In the north, the word that we use is Dasha, and then the Antar, and then the Pratyantar. This is the word. This is how we use in the north. Now, if you take a note of this word, the bhukti, that becomes the antar over here. So the sub period in the that comes from the Tamil Jyotish, it becomes the sub period in the north Jyotish literature. So sometimes this also creates a confusion, and I remember I used to have a lot of confusion with this particular antara. Many times I thought that we were talking about the sub period, then I would realize that it was the sub period, so that confusion was there. So you have to be comfortable with the DBA or the DBA or DAP. So these two terms you should be comfortable with. Otherwise, you will have all kinds of confusion. So let me give an example that so when we are talking about the dasha, then sometime you will find that this is how it is mentioned in some of the books. This example, Sani. You see, Sani. This word comes from the Tamil. Sani, major period. Jupiter, Bhukti. Then Jupiter is the English word. Sani is a Tamil word. And then Mercury, Antara. And they don't write Antara, they write Anthara. Now, this can also be written as with some variation. You can also write this as Shani Dasha. So, Shani is the popular pronunciation in the north, and Guru. For the Jupiter, it will become Guru and Antar. And then Mercury Pratyantar. So, you see, we have a North Indian word over here, a North Indian, and then we have an English word over here. And let's take another example. So where you see it is Saturn major period, Jupiter sub period, and Buddha sub period. All these three, they're all interchangeable. They all mean the same thing. But in various books, you will find the author sometimes using this format, sometimes they'll use this format, and sometimes they might use this format. So my idea of telling this is that even before you get on to the first astrology lesson, you should be familiar with this kind of a language alternation. This is going to be very helpful for you. Now, another area of confusion is the aspect and another is the conjunction. Especially when you start reading the Krishnamurti Paddhati, then you are not sure that what exactly the aspect means, whether this is a Western aspect. Similarly, in the conjunction, you are not sure whether it is a Parashari conjunction where the importance to the degree is not given, and the Parashari or the aspect in the Parashari literature where the Mars has fourth and eighth aspect, Guru has 5 and 9. So degree consideration is not there. But in Krishnamurti Paddhati, sometimes you will find that some articles make use of the Western aspect. Some articles they make use of the conjunction, the way it is done in the Western astrology, where you have to pay attention to the degree as well. So all these terms are freely interchangeably used. So this also creates some confusion. In some of the books, I really don't recall where to differentiate between the Western aspect and the Parashari, they had started using the word drishti. So for aspect, they were whenever the Western aspect was applicable, they would use the word aspect. And when it came to the Parashari astrology, they would use the word drishti. And for conjunction, they were using the word yuti. I don't recall that book, but I really like this the way the author had made this distinction between the Western aspect and the Parashari Drishti and the conjunction and the Yuti. So as a student, ahead of time, you should be knowing that your tutor might be throwing these words, aspect and conjunction at you. And that is the time when you should actually be prompting or asking your tutor that what exactly is meant by the aspect and the conjunction, whether it's a Western thing he or she is talking about or it's the Parashari thing. Then next, and the somewhat a little demanding is the the horoscope layout. So you see there is a North Indian layout and then there is a South Indian layout. Both of these layouts, they are very popular. And I would not, I would refrain from referring to one as superior to other. Both have their advantages. But as a student, you should be familiar with both, and they're a little different. I mean, when the 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 way you look at the South Indian layout is different from the way you look at the North Indian. And I remember I used to struggle when I was reading Krishnamurti books, and there all the examples were supported by the South Indian format. So I had to manually convert them into a North Indian format. So that was a lot of frustrating experience for me. And when you read these books from the South, they will have a South Indian format. So some books I have seen where they tend to embed both the North and the South Indian chart into one single layout, but that creates some confusion also. So my advice is that you have to be familiar with both the North and South. You should not have any difficulty whether it's a North Indian chart or a South Indian chart. Because when you join an online class, you never know whether your tutor has a liking for the North or for the South. And many of the software they would not have the facility to display both the format at the same time. So when a particular chart is being discussed, and then you will start struggling to figure it out what exactly is being discussed. So I would highly advise. So when we start making changes to our own the Jyotish portal, so then at that time we thought that we are going to make sure that we take care of the both the, the north and the south. And so in the Jyotish portal, you can whatever layout you want as a tutor or as a student. So this is a very good layout for the collaborative work where people have familiarity with a certain format. But like I mentioned, if you are a student and are planning to be a student, if you are trying to learn astrology, I would definitely recommend that you should get a handle on both. It's not difficult, and even before joining an astrology class, you can find resources on the internet or you can find books where you can learn about how to interpret a South Indian format versus the North Indian format. And even in the print, we made sure that when you take a when you create a PDF, then the PDF should have both the format. Because sometimes when one of my friends from South India, they tend to send me a PDF, then it will only have a South Indian format. And the or sometime when someone from the north generates a PDF and send it to an astrologer in south, then it will have only the North Indian. So every time this also creates some manual additional work for the astrologer. So this time in the when you go to the Jyotish portal, then the PDF generate both the north and the south format. And when you send it to any astrologer, they will appreciate about having whatever format they are comfortable with. So the intermingling of the languages, this has a huge benefit. It makes the a language very, I would say, it enriches a language. It makes it more dynamic. It makes it more fluid, and it makes more scalable. And this is one of the very good thing that is happening the in the Jyotish world, where the Jyotish world is open to the both the word from the English language or the word from the so the words from the English, Tamil, Hindi, and the Sanskrit. So they have also helped make the whole Jyotish literature very dynamic, fluid, and scalable. So that's a very good positive thing about the intermingling of the language. So my own journey into appreciating and knowing this about the intermingling of the language happened when I started reading the Krishnamurti Paddhati books. So obviously I would like to thank our Shri Krishnamurti ji, or sometimes we even call them as a lot of variations of even Krishnamurti's name that you will find. So the sometimes the word Krishnamurti is also spelled. You have PHY, sometimes it is MUR, sometimes it is. So there are 3 4 different variations of the Krishnamurti ji, the name himself. This is another example of the, I would say, language intermingling. So now let me end this video with Namaskar, as they call in the north, or the Namaskaram, as they call.